In the previous lesson, we have seen that there was several policy gradient methods, and some of them use a baseline. And in this lesson, we will investigate the difference between using a baseline in policy gradient methods and having an actor critique method. Here you have a reminder of the different ways to compute the reward-related equation where you are using policy gradient updates. And some of them use no critique, some of these use a critique. So the question is, are those policy gradient methods which use a state value function, an state action value function, or an advantage function as a baseline, which contain a policy and a critique, are they actor critique or not? And you will see that the answer is that they are actor critique only if the critique is learned from temporal difference estimate. So to be more precise about these equations, let's go back to Sutton and Bartow's book. In page 331, they have these 3 sentences which make the point very precise, and most of this lesson will be dedicated to understand those sentences. So they say that although the reinforced with baseline method learns both a policy and a state value function, we do not consider it to be an actor critique method because its state value function is used only as a baseline, not as a critique. That is, it is not used for bootstrapping, which means updating the value estimate for a state from the estimated value of subsequent states, but only as a baseline for the state whose estimate is being updated. And most importantly, this is a useful distinction, for only through bootstrapping do we introduce bias and an asymptotic dependence on the quality of the function approximation. And that's the part that we will investigate in the rest of this lesson. So as a reminder of the previous lesson, there are 3 options to perform policy gradient updates using a critique. So one consists in using Q values directly from data without having a critique, then to update the policy, compute new data, and again estimate the Q function and so on from Monte Carlo techniques. Okay. The other one is the Monte Carlo method with a model, where from the data you regress using function approximation a critique. From this critique you improve your policy. With your policy you generate your data, you throw away importantly your critique, and then you do it again. And the third version, which is the one of importance here, is the bootstrap approach, where you have an initial critique, which can be more or less random, so that's randomly initialized neural network that will be used as a first critique. From this first critique you will improve your policy. With your policy you will generate samples. From those samples you will update your critique, and so on and so on. So the big difference between this approach and this approach is that here you throw away the critique after each policy gradient step, whereas here you keep it over policy gradient step and you improve it through this loop. Okay, so this is what Sutton and Bartow mean when they say that only this latter approach ensures asymptotic convergence, actually convergence of the critique towards some optimal critique or towards the critique corresponding to the current policy. And of course you only obtain this asymptotic convergence when estimating the critique is stable, because as we will see later on, it can be quite unstable. Let's also go back to the fact that I mentioned in the previous lesson, that when you are using policy gradient with a model that I note here, Psi, we can compute the gradient using this formula, and if you look closely you just have the current state and action here and the current state and action here. So you could compute this gradient update over a single state. And here my function Psi can be either the action value function or the advantage function. And what is very important is that this update can be computed from a single step, whatever the way to approximate the Q function or the advantage function. So crucially, the samples that are used to update those functions do not need to be the same as the samples used to compute the overall gradient. That's what we will see in the next slides. But before that, I have to explain to you the use of a replay buffer. Probably it was explained to you before in previous classes, but An issue when combining reinforcement learning with function approximation is that in general, reinforcement learning agents produce samples that are not independent and identically distributed. So what does this mean? Here you have an example of a trajectory of an agent, and as you can see, this trajectory of the agent does not cover the whole space that you would like to learn from. Okay, so they are not identically distributed, and importantly also, this sample and this samples are a lot correlated because the next state of that sample is the current state of that sample, etc. So there is a lot of correlation, so they are not independent. So a way to become more IID is to use a replay buffer. The idea is that you will store the samples corresponding to the trajectory of the agent in a buffer for a long time. You wait that your agent has covered more or less the whole area if this is possible, and then you will draw samples from this replay buffer in a random order or in a different order from the just sequence. So you will draw from those memorized samples some mini batch, and then you will train your reinforcement learning agent from those mini batches. And by doing so, you have decorrelated the samples, so they are more independent. And if you have taken enough time, then those samples will come from everywhere, so they will also be identically distributed. So shuffling the replay buffer the way it is done here can make the samples more IID. Another point with using a replay buffer is that you can reuse the same sample several times. This is the case, for instance, for this one, which is used in this mini batch, but also in this mini batch. Okay, and by doing so, you can improve a lot the sample efficiency of reinforcement learning. And the last point that I need to mention, because it will be very useful for the next slide and lessons, is that recent data in the replay buffer come from policies that are close to the current policy. So this will be important because the samples coming from here are not so different from the samples that you should use if you want to estimate your current policy. A final word about replay buffers to say that this idea has been a lot popularized by the DeepQ network algorithm. But in fact, it's an old idea from Long Jilin. It was in '92 that he published this quite nice paper. Okay, now that we have seen this notion of replay buffer, we can better understand the difference between bootstrap method and Monte Carlo regression methods. So, in Monte Carlo regression methods, the idea is that you will update your estimate or your critique, so your estimate of the reward-related function from trajectories using the current policy. Okay, and once you have estimated this function, you can compute this whole gradient by sampling state and action pairs from the current policy, and using this gradient you can update your policy. So here, since you will throw away your critique every time, you need your trajectories to come from the same policy as the policy that you want to update with your gradient. But if you are using a replay buffer, then you can take samples from your replay buffer. Generally, you could take just one sample, and then this would update your critique. And with the same sample, you could compute the gradient. Okay, but using just one sample will make it that your gradient step will be a lot noisy. It suffers from a large variance, so it's a better idea to take from the replay buffer a mini batch of samples to update your critique from this mini batch and to update your gradient from this mini batch. And the point, as I said before, is that the samples that you take from the replay buffer can come from older version of your policy. So they do not provide the fact that your samples should come from the current policy here. So using updates from this replay buffer will be partly inaccurate. So this will be the issue about being off policy. But another point also is that if you are updating your critique from samples and keeping it in an iteration loop, then using bootstrap will come with bias. And you will see that those two aspects, using a replay buffer to update your critique and also to update your policy, are key steps to move from policy gradient to actor critique methods and to eventually become off policy. So in the next lesson we will focus on the bias variance trade-off. If you have any questions, of course, please don't hesitate to ask.